Nobody fucking with me, yeah. I'm about to go be Stipe, yeah. Moving up to heavyweight, yeah. And I am destined to be great, yeah. And if you didn't know, they call me DC. And there's no one that you know that can beat me. Yeah, I fought John Jones, but was he clean? I don't think so. What's in that PP? Steroids, cocaine, probably weed. Testosterone, dick pills, and speed. And shrooms, and pills, and codeine. Goddamn, John turned into a dope fiend. And Stipe's about to turn into a folding chair. When I fold him up, I'ma win 2 belts and hold him up. On my champ shit, Conor knows what's up, little bitch. I done did a lot of drugs in my day, yeah I said it, but I'm still gonna kick your ass, Gustafson, I hope you ready. When I got into the crash, I ain't know the bitch was pregnant, but they treat me like a murderer, so motherfucker critic, bitch I'm ready to fight, and we can fight till the death. I'll hit your ass with the right, then with the right and the left, then kick you right in the chest, and have you fighting for breath, and then I'll turn the pressure up when you would try to get rest, leave you no time to adjust. Daniel, I'm coming for the title, so quit hiding your necks, because I'm right at your neck. Yeah, you can try and fight Lesnar, but when you fight him, what's next? That's right, I'm the best. At UFC 232, I'll get my title instead. And it is time. Fuck that countdown. We're starting the show right now. What's going on, full-time family? Yo, it is Tuesday, December 18th, and I got some good news and bad news. Doesn't really involve the channel, so you guys don't care. But I got work today, which is the bad news. Show's only going to be about 30 minutes to an hour. But the good news is I got a fucking 2-week break from work. Well, that's not good news. It's kind of bad news personally, but the good news is we got a lot more time to talk about some MMA over the next couple of weeks. So what's going on, full-time family? Let's get the bankroll on the show. Guys, this is not a good sign. Like, here we are. I stopped doing the fake money bankroll. Now we're just doing the family bankroll. Started at 5, we're at 34. It's like we can't stop winning money, and I know it's not super realistic because the way we won some money on the bankroll this week, my boy Stamina MC came through the last minute and said, you know what, fuck it, I got 5 on Iaquinta. Put the 5 down and Iaquinta won, so there was that. So you add that on top of the family chose Barboza. Yo, it was a good night for the full-time family. So what's going on, everybody? We're going to be talking about some fights. We're going to be talking about the fights over the weekend. Ali versus Iaquinta 2. We'll talk about the main card, of course. We'll talk about a few current events in MMA. And then I'll get out your hair and head to work. So let's pull up the chat, see who's in the building. My motherfucking dog, Nicholas Moss, coming through with the Mossberg. Leon Dubbison, what's going on? Cam Murphy, the Irish Queen in the building. Mr. Perfect 2005, taking it a day at a time, brother. That's all you can do. I'm him 247, sup full-time fam. Ay. What's going on? I'm him. My motherfucking dog, Jay Skills, in the building. And George Page, what's going on, George? Eminem shit was lit, bro, says Q80 Pitbull. Yo, I said pick the beat. They said lucky you. I hope I delivered, man. Wasn't the longest, but boom, boom, boom. Chopped him up. Yo, make sure you guys check out UFC Yankovic if you want to hear that Eminem Lucky You Jones vs. Gustafson remix. We'll probably play it at the end of the show. Appreciate that. And then we got Marcus Bell in here. Let's go. All right, so guys, first thing we're going to talk about, Lee versus Iaquinta 2. We'll talk about the fights. I'm not going to lie, man. I just came out the closet as a big Kevin Lee fan. Like, I've always kind of low-key rooted for him. Like, okay, I see you. I think he's a good fighter, very well-rounded. I really look at Kevin Lee. He's got the skills. He's got the physical attributes. He's got everything it takes to be one of the best lightweights in the world. But Iaquinta showed he might not have I don't want to say the toughness, because Kevin Lee's extremely tough. You know, he stayed in that fight till the end. But maybe fight IQ? I feel like he went all out early in the fight. This was the rematch. You had to come into this prepared to win at any cost. And maybe Iaquinta was just way tougher than Kevin Lee expected, because he couldn't finish him. He had him in bad positions. He had him in his favorite spots. He had him in the body lock. He had him everywhere he could want him, but he couldn't get the submission. And honestly, one thing that really stands out in this whole equation to me, this whole fight afterward, is the fucking how underrated the Serra-Longo training gym is. All the fighters that come out of there are fucking studs. Look at Iaquinta. He's not even one of the most active lightweights out there, but he shows you he can literally just step in and compete with the best of the best lightweights in the world. This motherfucker stepped in on short notice in a 5-round fight with Khabib and made it to the end and was smiling at the end. He just fought Kevin Lee, one of the better lightweights in the world as well, and didn't make it look easy, but goddamn, he was a 3-1 underdog by the odds makers. He made them look a little wild. Like, what? I'm sure some people want some money on Iaquinta. Big time. Because you know what I'm saying? So, Iaquinta came through, held it down in the main event, beat Kevin Lee, and potentially set himself up in line to be at the spot for a McGregor fight, low-key. Like, legitimately. Iaquinta versus Conor McGregor makes so much fucking sense now with Iaquinta getting that win. For one, Battle of New York, kind of, right? He already fought Khabib in New York. Yeah, Khabib won. But McGregor loves New York. The whole, the whole thing, notorious. Like, so, McGregor versus Iaquinta fight in New York would already be epic, just for the location purposes. And they both, have their spot in New York, right? Like Conor McGregor, Brooklyn, New York, wherever. Iaquinta for sure. But both of these guys have lost to Khabib recently. The winner of this fight gets to rematch Khabib, right? McGregor, Iaquinta, winner gets to rematch Khabib. Now, of course, there's other lightweights in the picture. Of course, the Poiriers, the Fergusons, and all these guys. But I'm just saying, this is a real possibility. Iaquinta versus McGregor, winner rematch of Khabib. They both have lost to Khabib now. So Iaquinta low-key threw his name in the hat for a McGregor fight when it might not have even been in the hat before. I wasn't thinking about Conor McGregor versus Iaquinta before this. Now it makes a lot of sense. I was extremely impressed by Iaquinta over the weekend. Probably one of his best performances of his career that I've seen. Of course, the knockout over Diego Sanchez, but a win over a legit top 5 ranked contender in the division in impressive fashion, winning a 5-round fight like that, like, Iaquinta, I think he completely. I think he came out looking the best over the weekend. Like, just amazing performance from Iaquinta. And yeah, Lee gassed a little bit at the end of the fight. He wasn't all the way out of the gas, but he was out of gas enough for Iaquinta to start walking him down and feeling. Iaquinta was clearly the fresher fighter at the end of the fight, to where, you kind of, and I think that's how people kind of look at what people want to do to Tyron Woodley. It's hard to do because he's either going to conserve his energy, and that's something that it looks like Kevin Lee's going to have to potentially do. He's going to have to conserve. If he can't finish a guy, he's going to have to conserve his energy. Kevin Lee's in a weird spot now. People kind of already questioned his chin. So now when you question somebody's chin and somebody's cardio, it's like, like Kevin Lee can win fights and he's still going to get better and he's got a chance to be a champion in the future. I don't think it's going to be 2019. He's got a chance to still have a bright future, but I mean, now you got to question the cardio. It's like, yeah, he used a little too much energy going for the finish. Iaquinta's just a fucking tough dude. I mean, has Iaquinta been finished? That's a good question. I can't think of a time Iaquinta's ever been finished. So somebody tough like that, if you can't finish him, you're going to have to fight a little smarter. And this is hindsight clearly, but you're going to have to come in here and you're going to have to fucking conserve your energy. Be more efficient with your energy, as Conor McGregor would say. You got to be more efficient with your energy. You went for the gusto, thought you had him hurt, thought you were going to be able to submit him, fucked around and ran out of gas. It's a 5-round fight. You know what I'm saying? He got submitted, but he's never been knocked out. Iaquinta has never been knocked out. He has been submitted 3 times, but he's never been knocked out. And clearly his jiu-jitsu has just did nothing but improve, because the fact that he was able to remain patient and get out of that position that he was in, the body triangle, Kevin Lee had his back multiple times, and that's a dangerous dude when he has your back. But he was unable to find the submission. Just phenomenal performance by Iaquinta. I'm not going to lie, bro. I did not expect him to have such a great performance. Now, did he dominate every round? No. But he came in there and won the fight. A 5-round decision, and it wasn't a robbery by any means. I feel like Iaquinta won the fight, and that was phenomenal. So, fucking huge congratulations. Just great performance by Iaquinta over the weekend. Came out looking the best. Now he's potentially in line for a Conor McGregor title eliminator. Like, this kid is in a great spot. I was impressed with Iaquinta's ducking to body shot. Says Alan Clark, I thought Kevin would win. Iaquinta versus McGregor, Ferguson versus Poirier, says Jay Skills. Yo, that sounds like a great card right there. And McGregor and Iaquinta, McGregor. McGregor ain't gonna be nobody's co-main event. But boom, right there. Put McGregor versus Iaquinta on the top of the card, and then you got Poirier versus Ferguson right there. Little lightweight tournament-ish, except for the winners aren't gonna fight, but you get the point. I like that. Think the dude broke his computer at Helwani's show, says MMA Addict. Look at Lee's 2 black and blue eyes, busted him up. I had Lee to win too. Yo, me too, man. He busted fucking Kevin Lee up, bro. Usually like going into the fight, like I could have seen a situation where maybe Iaquinta was busted up, but got his hand raised, because it was still a good fight. And honestly, if you look at the fight metrics, you can make an argument that Kevin Lee, I would completely hear you. If you thought Kevin Lee won that fight, damage doesn't say it. It's kind of like, you might look at it like a Bisping Dan Henderson thing. Like, yeah, Bisping's eyes were busted up more. He took more damage, but he scored more takedowns throughout the fight, landed more strikes overall. Okay, I get it. Because technically, yeah, Kevin Lee did land 3 takedowns to 0, and he technically had more overall strikes, I believe, by the end. But it's about the rounds. Iaquinta won 3 rounds in the fight. Kevin Lee won 2. So if you're going off of rounds, I feel like Iaquinta won the fight. So I think the right person got their hand raised. Shit, I wouldn't have been mad if Dan Henderson got his hand raised over Bisping, because clearly, as well, if you look at the 2 fighters who won the fight, Iaquinta. You could say that about Dan Henderson, though. Like, you thought Dan Henderson beat Bisping. But either way, Kevin Lee didn't get his hand raised. Iaquinta did, and he came out looking good. So phenomenal main event over the weekend, 5-round fight. Probably fight of the night. I didn't see who got the bonuses, but then the co-main event, you had Edson Barboza versus Dan fucking Hooker. Y'all must have forgot. Edson Barboza came into this thing, tenderized, brutalized, whatever you want to call it, from his fights with Kevin Lee and Khabib Nurmagomedov, but that didn't stop him from coming in here and looking great in a more stand-up battle with Dan Hooker. He's not going against some dominant wrestler that's going to be looking to take him down and smash his face against the cage. And, these people ain't trying to, Dan Hooker wasn't coming in trying to show everybody, hey, I want to beat him, prove I'm next in line for a title like his previous opponents had been trying to prove. So, better style matchup for Barboza, and boy, did it work out for him. He was fucking beating Dan Hooker's ass in the fight to the point to where some people felt like the fight could have been stopped sooner. But Edson Barboza, he's not going to, if the ref don't stop it, if your corner don't stop it, I'm going to keep kicking your ass. And so he put a pretty bad beating on Dan Hooker in that fight, got the 3rd round KO, TKO, fucking phenomenal performance from Edson Barboza, bounce back win, much needed. And Dan Hooker's still a great fighter, but this was definitely a huge step up in competition. He hadn't really ever fought a top 10, top 5 ranked guy in the world before this. So step up in competition, definitely for Dan Hooker. Didn't pass, but still a very dangerous fighter. Trains with Israel Adesanya, so it's not like he doesn't train with world-class strikers to prepare him for this fight. Just a little too soon, I believe. Rob Font versus Sergio Pettis. I thought Sergio Pettis could get this one done. I know he really wanted this win. He needed this win. Coming off of a loss on the same card as his brother Anthony Pettis at, UFC 229. They both fought, both lost. Now he gets to fight in front of his home crowd, Sergio Pettis, but he's kind of forced to move up to bantamweight because the UFC's folding the flyweight division. So it's like, do you want to leave the UFC or do you want to fight at bantamweight? So he's like, well, fuck it. We're going to Milwaukee. I guess I'll fight at bantamweight. Fighting in front of his home crowd, had to fight a very tough, dangerous opponent in Rob Font. And he didn't get knocked out, but he did lose another fight, Sergio Pettis. So, unsuccessful bantamweight debut. And I was curious to see how he would look at bantamweight. Guys that fight at that's why there's weight classes. Some people cut too much weight and they deplete themselves so they don't look good at the lower weight class. But if you don't have problems making a weight class and you're forced to fight at a higher division, usually that doesn't go great. Sergio Pettis is a flyweight. He's not a guy that people have talked about, oh, he's had bad weight cuts, maybe he should be fighting a bantamweight. No, he's always been a flyweight. And the only reason he's moving up is because the division's kind of gone. So it's not like he's moving up because he's just a huge flyweight. And that's going to take away a little bit from your power, unless you're depleting yourself when you're cutting weight. When you move up, those guys are going to be a little stronger in the grappling, a little harder hits. It's just a tougher division for Sergio Pettis, and that showed. Lost the 3-round decision. We'll see what's next for Sergio Pettis because he can go to one championship, another organization, or he's going to have to stick it out up here at bantamweight, and didn't have a successful bantamweight debut. I feel like he would have to, he just climbed the flyweight division. He just proved he was ready for the top 5, top 10 of the flyweight division. He grew up in the UFC fighting guys, flyweights, just getting a lot of fights in. He just became one of the best flyweights in the world. And so, now if Sergio's got to go up to bantamweight, he's going to have to, I feel like, climb that ladder again. Now I'm going to have to beat the number 15 bantamweight. Then I'm going to have to, so that's going to be a tough climb, I feel like, for Sergio Pettis if he remains in the UFC at bantamweight. Clayton Funky says he was previously a 135er. Yeah, he has fought at 135, earlier in the past. He wasn't, tweening back and forth when he was fighting at flyweight. Earlier in his career, he fought at bantamweight. But when he learned how to cut weight better and, realized flyweight was the best for him, that's where he cut to. That was his natural weight class, flyweight. He was able to fight at flyweight. It wasn't like he had a bad weight cut. But yeah, he has fought. There are some guys that have fought higher. There's some girls that fought at featherweight, but once they got with someone that knew how to cut weight and shit, they're actually a natural bantamweight. But yeah, they fought higher in the past when they were less disciplined and didn't have a fight camp and shit like that. But still smaller for the division. But yeah, he definitely fought there in the past. Nicholas Moss said, would you think Tuivasa versus Willis would fight at UFC 234? They could. They fucking could fight at 234. I don't see why not. El Chapo says Conor Nate could happen next. Conor Nate, Conor Al. A lot of fights could happen next. I'd like to see Conor Nate at any time, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, fucking Conor Nate. When it happens, I'm sure we'll all get up for it, but I got no clue when it's going to happen. Cam Murphy says, sorry, full time, got to leg it. Go get a bit of weed, catch you on the next one, take it easy. All right, man, give me some too while you're out. Gary Hendricks Jr. says, what's up, family? At the workhouse, can't really engage, definitely listening. Yo, salute to Gary Kendrick Jr., Jay Skills. Hopefully the matchmakers make the Diaz-McGregor 3 soon. Yeah, that'd be a good one. But with them, it's about when the matchmakers make it and if they're both ready to fight. Like, hey, McGregor, you busy? You got some whiskey shit you got to do? You ready to fight? And if you are ready to fight, you ready to fight Nate? All right, we got Conor ready. All right, Nate, you ready to fight? Well, I don't know. Maybe, motherfucker, like, maybe the date's not right. Yeah, that seems like a big mess. But whenever they do start putting the fight together, I would love it. But not sure when that will be. Kevin, gimme Khabib or GSP Lee. Yo, he's gotta shut the fuck up. I feel bad. I'm a Kevin Lee fan, but bro, you gotta shut all that shit down. You can't be calling out Khabib. You can't be talking about GSP. None of that shit anymore. You gotta work your way back up. You need a big win. Kevin Lee, you don't have to fuck around and fight James Vick or something at this point. I don't know who's gonna win. But alright, guys. Jim Miller, Charles Oliveira, first round submission for Charles Oliveira. Great win for him. Both guys talented submission artists. Let's get into some of the news, and then I'll be out your here after we're done with the news. Iaquinta says he deserves Khabib Nurmagomedov rematch instead of Conor McGregor, and he's got a great point for that. On the mic, he actually did call for the rematch with Khabib. Like, listen, I fought the dude short notice. I went to a decision with him. Like, give me my title shot. I like that call from Iaquinta. Give me my rematch. Give me a fair one. I had to fight the dude on short notice. I just beat Kevin Lee. I hear you. Now, is he going to get a title shot next? I don't think it'll be Khabib, honestly. And, shoot, I think you'd be happy if you could get the McGregor fight. Of course, you'd rather fight for the title, and maybe you even feel like you'd have a better shot against Khabib on full notice. And, shoot, I wouldn't even doubt Iaquinta at this point. I would like to see full camp Iaquinta versus fucking Khabib. I mean, why not? After this Kevin Lee fight, Iaquinta looked phenomenal. Would love it. Fuck yeah, I would like to see what he could do on a full camp versus Khabib. So I love the fight. I would not be mad at Iaquinta versus Khabib too at this point, all because of Iaquinta's performance over the weekend. But Khabib still got the suspension potentially looming over him, then Ramadan. So more realistically, I think why not go from McGregor? Because of course, well, if you're not a champion, what sucks, right? If you're somebody like Iaquinta or Kevin Lee or Poirier, and you're not a champion, you don't get pay-per-view points unless you negotiate that in some sort of main event. But like if Poirier fought Nate Diaz, he wasn't going to get no pay-per-view points for that. Yeah, it's a huge opportunity because a lot of people get to see you, but you weren't going to get no extra money. So if Iaquinta did fight McGregor next, it's not like he's going to get a huge bump from the pay-per-views unless he negotiates it into a main event. So, but what I was going to say is, it'd be awesome to fight Khabib next and get another title shot and fight him on full camp. But shoot, why not take out McGregor on the way to Khabib? Right? Fight McGregor, and then if you beat McGregor, fuck yeah, then you fight Khabib. Or the winner of Iaquinta versus McGregor could fight Khabib. But Iaquinta wants that Khabib rematch ahead of Conor McGregor. This is what he said. If Conor thinks he's getting a rematch before me, I think that's some nonsense. He said, I'm the guy who, if he wants to get a rematch, I'm the guy. No immediate rematch for him. He tapped out. I took it like a man on a week's notice. He had all the time in the world to prepare. He wanted a way out. He said, I'm the fucking guy in this division. Yo, Raging now Iaquinta, bro. I know a lot of people already were huge on Iaquinta, but I was I'm a fan of Iaquinta, but I wasn't like a Iaquinta stan. But after that, because I just didn't know where he stood amongst the top 5 in the division. What he did against Khabib was impressive. Short notice, didn't get finished. Extremely impressive. That was tough as fuck. But I was still curious to see how he would do against the top 5 guy in the division. I wasn't sure. We hadn't seen it from him. He knocked out Diego Sanchez, yeah. But we hadn't seen Iaquinta in the last 3 years fight a guy in the top of the lightweight division. So I didn't know how he would look. I don't have those questions anymore. So 100% I'm behind Iaquinta at this point. I don't care if it's a McGregor fight, I'm with Al. If it's a Khabib fight, I'm with Al. He's earned them. I wouldn't count him out of any of those fights. Just fucking phenomenal performance from Iaquinta over the weekend. And what he says here, McGregor, if you're listening, he's making his case. My guy said, if Conor thinks he's getting the rematch before me, I think it's some nonsense. I'm the guy who, if he wants to get the rematch, I'm the guy. No immediate rematch for him. He tapped out. I took it like a man on a week's notice. Ooh, shit, son. He said, Conor tapped out. I took it like a man on a week's notice and still made it to decision. Can't make a better case than Iaquinta made for himself. So, fuck yeah, man. I'm 100% with Al there. That's why the semi-tournament sounds good, says Jay Skills. Al made that boy's face look like some Arby's meat, says Gary Kenji Jr. Yo, he tore Kevin Lee's face up, bro. That's Brian Ortega and Kevin Lee. Both like the pretty boys, no hetero. Both got their shit smashed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what this game does to you. You can be a pretty bitch. You can be a pretty dude, pretty chick, whatever the fuck. You go into that octagon, you ain't gonna look the same about the next week, though. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than if Mackenzie Dern went in there with like a Valentina Shevchenko. You might get your shit creamed up, beat up, smacked up, tore off. Same thing with Paige Van Zandt. You want to go in there with Valentina Shevchenko? You ain't gonna look the same for the next week. Be careful in here. Bada Jr. says, Kevin, I gave props to Al just because the crowd started booing me, Lee. Oh, Bada Jr. in here with the heat. What up, John Rod? Bada Jr. says, Kevin, I beat the system, so forget about being humble, Lee. Yo. Bada ain't letting him off the hook, Kevin. I see holes in Khabib's game, Lee. Oh. Tak Palmer 253 says, do you think there could be a Holloway versus McGregor 2, and how big do you think it would be? Yes, I do think there could be a Holloway versus McGregor 2. How big would it be? I think it'd be as big as just any of McGregor's fights. I don't think it'd be like bigger than a Diaz or rematch or trilogy. It might have been bigger than the first Diaz fight. But there's not a lot of drama. I do think the casual fans know who Max Holloway is at this point. Like, if I went and asked my brother, like, yo, would you watch Holloway versus McGregor? Yeah, he would watch it, but it's not something he's probably dying for right now. McGregor coming off of a loss. Yeah, I know Max Holloway. Like, okay. Like, I think it's something people would watch, but not something people would be dying. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they booked it. You know, like, holy shit. Like, I don't think it's one of those, but I do think it would be a big fight. I don't think it would be Conor's biggest fight, but I think it would be a big fight. I would love the fight. I do think we could see it since there is a rematch there. Holloway is the champion. The something that adds to it, the last person to beat Holloway was McGregor. You combine that with the fact that McGregor is losing, Holloway is winning. Like, I do think there's some interesting dynamics to that fight, and I do think it would sell. I just don't know if it would be the biggest seller. But, I mean, when you look at McGregor, Khabib, he just lost that fight. Nate Diaz is probably the biggest one possible. I think it probably goes like Nate Diaz, Brian Ortega. No, not Brian Ortega. Nate Diaz, Max Holloway, Iaquinta, and then probably Khabib in that order, just because he just got smashed by Khabib. Yeah, it's a big fight, but I don't know if people are dying to see it. But yeah, so let's move on to the next topic. Anderson Silva hoping for one last UFC title fight and criticizing Georges St-Pierre. I ain't even mad at this, bro. I know, like the GSP stands, and I'm a big GSP fan, but when I got into this sport, it was Anderson Silva. I was Team Anderson Silva. That's who brought me. If it wasn't no Anderson Silva, I don't even know if I would be watching MMA at this point. I might, but really, Anderson Silva and Rampage back in the day, that's where I came from. Watching, those were my favorite fighters. So I've always been an Anderson Silva huge fan. Always was my favorite fighter of all time. The losses in the failed drug test, they hurt my soul. I had to take him out of the GOAT conversation. But USADA deemed him innocent. And then if you think about the losses, it's because he's fucking challenging himself. It's because he's fighting against the best fighters in the world and he's not playing the stock market. If Anderson Silva wanted to sit back and say, I'm only going to fight who's got the highest stock he probably would have never fought Derek Brunson. You know? He probably wouldn't have fought some of these fights. And so he makes a good point, but at the same time, once you do take the risk and lose, that's the hand you were dealt. You made your bet, now you lying it. You can either play it smart and safe. I want to say this, because this is just in life. Doesn't matter in the UFC or what. There's a very thin line between being smart and scared. And there's a very thin line between being brave and being stupid. Because if you look at, let's use the UFC for example. It's smart if you're the champion and you feel like you're about to fight a losable matchup. It's smart to say, you know what, I'm walking away from the sport and stay on top and only come back for super fights. It's smart. What GSP's doing, playing the stock market, only fighting what it seems to be win-wins, high reward, low risk. Yeah, I'll fight Bisping at middleweight, but that's probably it. You know what I'm saying? If I come back to welterweight, it's probably not going to be against Woodley. Someone's going to have to really do something and shake it up before I come back. That's kind of smart. When you're Anderson Silva, it's brave. Yeah, it's honorable to fight the Derek Brunsons and these guys that you've been fighting, going out fighting. But when you lose the fight, your stock drops yourself. So Anderson Silva's coming out and kind of taking shots, talking about how he's willing to take risk. And if you think about GSP, who's he talking about? But this is what he said. I believe in a perfect world, of course, Anderson Silva fights for the belt and takes the belt, then drops the mic. He said, but I need to focus on this fight first. The second step, let's go see, because the future is very short. Think about who Anderson Silva is fighting next. According to the reports, Israel Adesanya. That is one of the toughest matchups Anderson Silva can fucking take. If you're in your prime, that's one of the toughest matchups you can take. You got like 42, 43-year-old Anderson Silva taking a fight with Israel Adesanya. That's not playing the stock market. That's not playing it safe. That's honorable. That's commendable. But you could come in here and just get your fucking shit cleaned up real quick by Adesanya. He can knock you out in the first round, and that ain't going to be seeming too smart at that point. Man, respect Anderson Silva for taking the fight, but he's still knocked out on the stool. He's still knocked out. So, which way do you want to look at it? Are you going to commend Anderson Silva for taking these fights and saying, yo, respect to this dude, because a lot of people wouldn't take these fights? Or are you saying, damn, dude, you're fucking up your legacy if you keep going out here losing? But either way, you got to look at the flip side for GSP, who's kind of playing it safe. That would be like GSP coming back to fight Paulo Costa. It's like, bro, that's a scary motherfucker. That's a tough fight. Dude coming up in his prime. It's a fight he could take, but Paulo Costa doesn't have the stature or the stock to really have earned that fight. You could say the same about Adesanya here. This is what Anderson Silva said. I believe this is a great fight. This is an amazing fight. This fight's going to change everything in this game. He said he respects Georges St-Pierre for doing smart business, but as a fighter, he thinks he does not take the real challenge. Yeah, GSP does the smart business to stay on top, but are you challenging yourself? And that's what Anderson Silva's talking about right now. And it's one thing when a fan says it or someone in the media, But when one of your peers, one of your rivals, comes out and starts talking this shit, that opens my eyes a little more. Like, yo, Anderson Silva's taking shots. This is a dude that's actually out here risking it for the biscuit. Yeah, you're making smart business moves, but are you taking the challenge? Yo, I kind of like what Anderson Silva has to say here. He said, I believe Georges St-Pierre does not take the real challenge. He just tries to do something easy for yourself. But this is GSP. He's so smart. That's the game. That's the business. He's a businessman. For me, I prefer to take a real challenge. Don't put nothing in the mind of my fans saying, maybe yes, maybe not. That's why I accepted the fight with Daniel Cormier on 2 days' notice at UFC 200. That's the difference. It's not about fighters. It's about martial arts. I like the challenge. I try to do my best every time. Fucking respect. He did fight Daniel Cormier on short notice, 2 days' notice, you know. But honestly, you know what I'm saying? That's also a big opportunity. But yeah, you don't got a good chance of getting a win there. If you're worried about protecting your resume with wins, you're not going to take that fight on short notice. But maybe he needs money, right? I mean, like maybe he needs money. Maybe GSP has been smarter with his money, right? If you've got $10 million in the bank, maybe you're like, okay, I'm not going to go out there and take that loss to DC. I don't need the money. I don't need the opportunity. So, it could be you just wanted the challenge, but it could also be you needed the money. You know, if Anderson Silva had $50 million in the bank, do you think he takes that fight on short notice? See, that's details that you really don't know. We don't know. I don't think GSP needs money, though. So when you don't need money as much, and I don't know their financial situations, I don't want to. I'm not in their business like that. But I'm just saying that can also factor into why you take a fight. You know, it's one thing if you take a fight because you need to and you're like, oh, see, I'm willing to take a risk. It's like, no, you needed to take that risk. Maybe you blew a little more money in your days. Maybe someone like GSP doesn't need the money as much as you, so he doesn't need to do that. So, I mean, I like what Anderson Silva's saying because it sounds good, you know? He's saying that he doesn't believe GSP takes the real challenges. Well, shit, when you're taking a fight with Israel Adesanya, maybe you have a point. Because that's a hell of a challenge. But there could be other things that play into it. He said, I believe 100, and this is where Anderson Silva, he went on to talk about potentially fighting McGregor and shit like that. Like, he seemed honestly just like a martial artist that wants to get out there and challenge yourself, Anderson Silva. Like, fuck it. I want to challenge myself against McGregor. I'll challenge myself against DC. I'll challenge myself against Adesanya. Fuck it, John Jones. You want to fight? I mean, yeah, you'll probably clean me up, but I would not be surprised if Anderson Silva said, fuck it, I'll fight John Jones next again. I mean, we can fight again. Or me and John Jones, let's fight. I just want to challenge myself, right? Fuck it, I'll fight John Jones. Jones versus Silva. J Skill says making a valid point full time. Yeah, man, there's different things, right? Like Mayweather, who don't need the money. Yeah, he might not fight some young stud on short notice because he don't need the money. But if someone offered like Mike Tyson $50 million to come out and fight Deontay Wilder, he might be like, yeah, I'll fight him because I ain't scared. It's like, no, it's because you need the money, right? It's a little different. Floyd don't need the money, so he don't have to fucking take some wild fight. He don't need the money. He can be smarter with his business and treat it more like a business. So, but that's happens all the way from the beginning levels of fighting. If you gotta, when you're an amateur, literally all the way from when you're an amateur. When you're an amateur, if you got a great team around you and a great manager and you've been practicing a lot more, you can take smarter amateur fights. You can take 7 amateur fights. You don't need to get paid. You can take smarter fights. As to where someone who don't have a great team behind them that needs money, they're getting into fighting because they want money. Well, you are probably going to have to turn pro after your second amateur fight. You're probably not going to get to choose who you're fighting, so it's going to be a tougher matchup. You're probably going to take more damage throughout these fights. I mean, having a solid team and money behind you matters at all levels of the sport. All the way from amateur, it's better for you if you have a team behind you, a solid team. Now, yeah, you can come up through the grind and the grit with no team and trying to good fucking luck. You can get through to the meat grinder. You might fuck around and become a star It's going to be hard, though. You're going to have to be one of the best of the best of the best, like a Masvidal. Like, those are the type of dudes that came up from nothing and actually made it to the top of the sport. But Masvidal had the fight game in him before Kimbo backyards. Like, you had to legitimately be a fighter to be that damn good and make it to the highest level. And even now, he's with the American Top Team, because they brought him in. But either way, now he's got an amazing fight team, and he is one of the best in the world. But before Masvidal had American Top Team, he was going to fucking Australia, China, and for fucking Bulldogs and Road FC and all these different promotions around the world, just beating ass because he was one of the best fighters out there. It don't matter if I got a good matchup because I'm just beating everybody's ass. But yeah, man. Leon Dubson says, the Spider going with the old school mentality. Love it. Oh, yeah. Challenge myself. Fuck. Yeah, I could probably make more money if I took this fight and waited until this day on this date. But nah, I want to challenge myself. I like it. Let's move on. So, UFC 233, motherfucking was recently, excuse me, moved from Anaheim. Scrapped. We were going to have Dillashaw versus Cejudo on that card. But now we're not. The card that got moved to ESPN Plus. We weren't able to find a new main event, and potential main events being talked about was Covington versus Woodley. Those guys couldn't get it together. There was talks of Covington versus Usman. Couldn't get it together. Askren's like, shit, I offered to save the card. So it seems like we got some willing fighters. The problem with this is the whole situation. If you don't have Woodley, it's hard to have a belt on the line. You can't really fight for an interim belt in this division specifically because Covington fought for an interim belt, didn't get to fight for the title, got stripped. Darren Till fought. So now is Covington the interim champ or not? Who knows? Who cares at this point? Because even when you're the interim champion, you don't get the title fight. So now you already have an interim champion, but you also don't because he got stripped. So what do? Put another interim belt up in the same division? So it's like you have to have Woodley in the fight for it to really matter. But if Woodley's not ready, what do? Make another interim title fight? And if Covington's not ready, what do? Have Usman versus Askren for the interim title? Such a shit show it feels like at the top of the welterweight division. But Ben Askren did offer to step in and potentially help save the card, but the UFC still went ahead and scrapped it. And this is the same night Bellator's having the same card. Like, it was crazy. Bellator and UFC were in Anaheim that night, and it was going to be a pay-per-view for the UFC. It was a good card. Askren versus Lawler, title fight. Champ versus champ, title fight. They're scrapping that whole joint because they can't get a main event together. And it's like, man, if you're Bellator, it couldn't have played out any better for you. You were going to be competing with the UFC pay-per-view in the same market on the same night, not only on pay-per-view or not only on TV and streaming, but you were also going to be competing with ticket sales. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you're in one arena, they're in one arena. Do you think the people are going to UFC that night or Bellator? Yeah, a lot of people might go to Bellator, but a majority of motherfuckers were going to the UFC regardless. It's a pay-per-view. Now that whole thing is shut down, so everybody that was about to watch some MMA that night is going to Bellator. Bellator couldn't have played out any fucking better for Bellator. Now the only MMA that night is going to be Bellator. UFC ain't even selling pay-per-views that night anymore. And it's a big card for Bellator. Like, literally, Bellator, I mean, they just won that night. The UFC said, fuck it, man. And UFC, they could have been assholes. You know, we're going to put together a main event. We ain't conceding this night to Bellator because if we cancel this whole event, Bellator wins. Even if we just put together some stupid-ass interim title fight in the main event, it's going to help put out Bellator's flame a little bit. But I don't feel like the old days anymore. I don't feel like the UFC is trying to squash out Bellator and ONE FC anymore. I feel like they're all working together a little more now with potential trades and free agents. Like, yeah, they're not like working together, Scott Coker and Dana White working together type shit. But I feel like they're more open to have at least a conversation. How else would you ever have a Bellator UFC trade if neither one of them would be open to even talking to each other? Same thing with ONE FC. How would the UFC and ONE FC get to a trade if they weren't at least cordial and talking like, okay, listen, I know you're my competition, but I do like Ben Askren. you at least have to be cordial. It's not all cutthroat, I feel like, anymore. Like, oh, Bellator's tonight. Oh, we've got to counter-program them. Like, I don't feel like they're just trying to fucking choke all the other promotions out anymore, for lack of a better word. So, with that being said, that Bellator, a huge win for them. UFC 33 is canceled. Askren, they're not saving the day. They're not booking some interim title fight like they've done in the past. Like, shit, I mean, Cyborg usually is someone you can call on in times like this, but she's got a fight booked. But even at UFC 228, they could have called on Cyborg, and they chose not to. So, I mean, UFC didn't have any interim title fights they felt like were good enough to replace this fight on short notice. And they were like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just move. Let's just scrap the pay-per-view. The ESPN Plus card is clearly more important here because the ESPN Plus cards, their debut on ESPN Plus, they want a big fight. So that's why they moved Dillashaw and Cejudo there. But it's like, now we got to scrap a whole pay-per-view. But big night for Bellator for sure. And also it kind of bolsters the ESPN Plus card a little bit because could you imagine your very first ESPN Plus card and you don't have like a big fight for your, like, first impression? You got to make a good first impression. So Ben Askren said he offered to step up and save the card. We got a good fight coming up, guys. Moving on, Zabit Magomedsharipov, Jeremy Stephens targeted for UFC 235. This means two things. The first thing it means is we got a fucking great fight coming up. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is one of the best fights that I could have asked for in the featherweight division. I fucking love this booking. This fight right here, potential fight of the night already, off tops. I can't wait for this fight. I love it. I fucking love this fight. I almost like it more than Zabit versus Yair. I fucking love this fight. The other thing it means is Yair Rodriguez must not want no smoke. He must not want no smoke. 235, that was time. Yair, if you wanted to get this deal done, we could have been seeing Zabit versus Yair here. But I'm not going to lie, I do like this fight almost a little bit better. But yeah, so it says, Jeremy, this is what Lil Heathens took to social media and posted. He said, I declare to rise victorious again. I welcome the challenge this fight brings, and I'm confident in these challenges. I'll overcome in a fantastic performance. Hashtag America. Oh, shit. Woohoo. This is one of those fights I'm just getting chills just thinking about, dude. This is one of the best featherweight matches I think that could have been made. This phenomenal performance. Both of these guys are going to be looking to bring it. Zabit's got great wrestling, but he's not going to be looking to hold Jeremy Stephens down in this fight. I mean, this could be a barn burner, slugfest. I mean, Zabit's going to throw in some cartwheels and some crazy kicks and all type of crazy shit too, but Jeremy Stephens is going to bring it. He's going to probably be looking to knock this dude out. Like, I cannot wait for this fucking fight. This is already my favorite fight at UFC 235. Zabit versus Jeremy Stephens. Can't wait. Now, a fight I was also looking forward to that's probably not going to happen, which, I mean, anytime a Diaz fight is announced, you can probably just book it that it's not going to happen. Don't matter who it's going to be against. It don't matter who reports it. It don't matter which Diaz. It don't matter if it's Nate Diaz versus fucking GSP, Nate Diaz versus Tyron Woodley, Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz versus Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz versus Nick. No, it doesn't matter who. It don't matter if it's Nick Diaz versus Anderson Silva, Nick Diaz versus GSP, Nick Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal. They're not fucking fighting. Like, unless the UFC decides to pay him $3 billion. But what they are doing a good job of is keeping their name relevant. They've got a really good team behind them now that's like, listen. Even if you don't want to fight, let's just let motherfuckers think you are. Because that keeps your name relevant. That keeps the sponsors calling. That keeps the sponsors paying. That keeps the nightclubs that want to book you to smoke weed with them calling. It reminds everyone you're in the UFC. Because, yeah, it's really smart. It doesn't matter where you're at to be able to keep your name on top of the media. That's just... When you look at the biggest stars, they do a great job of that. And the Diaz brothers, well, goddamn, neither one of them have fought in like 2 years, and we talk about them every week. And then I would love to see this fight. And it pisses me off because I really love this fight. Nick Diaz, Jorge Masvidal. I wanted to see this fight for a long time. Did I think we would ever get to see it? No, but boom. They're flirting with the idea. 309, 305 versus the 209. And then Nick Diaz, non-committal. He'll say some shit like, no, I never agreed to that, but I'll whoop Woodley's ass, though. It's like, oh, so you want to fight Woodley? He's like, I didn't say that. I just said I'll whoop his ass. Like, wait. So you whoop the champion's ass? You feel like you can beat the champion? You just don't want to fight him? He's like, yeah, exactly. What? So you can kick all these guys' asses, you just don't want to fight? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, I get it. You probably can beat some of their asses, but I wish we would see it. But he said, I think it's rude of the UFC to try and lowball me and expect me to negotiate a deal while I'm training for a fight. It's not going to go down like that. If anybody wants to fight me, they know where to find me. I'm not a hard guy to find. Come get some. So he is still, of course, saying, like, if you want to fight me, just come meet me. You know, we'll whoop your ass. You want to come down to our gym, the Gracie gym, or I don't even know the exact gym they train in at this point. You want to come down to the fucking Scrap Packs gym? I wouldn't even trust that, bro. Could you imagine Masvidal being like, all right, well, I'll take you up on that offer. I'll whoop your ass in your gym. Fuck it. I just want to fight you. It ain't about business with me, homeboy. I really just wanted to whoop your ass, and I have for a long time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come down to your gym, and I'm going to whoop your ass. Fuck the UFC. We ain't even going to book it there. I get it. They're lowballing you, right? That's why you don't want to fight me in the UFC, because they're lowballing you. Well, here, neither one of us are getting paid for this. I'm coming to your gym. Set it up. Could you imagine that? Like, calling his bluff? Like, okay, they're lowballing you. Let's just fight in your gym. You know what would happen, right? Masvidal would walk in like, yo, where's Nick? Where the fuck is Nick Diaz at? He would just start getting dinked from everywhere. Bink, Jake Shields. Bink, bink, Gilbert Melendez. Boom, Nate Diaz. Boom. You get jumped so fucking fast. You walk into the Diaz brothers gym looking for a fight. They don't fight fair in the streets, homie. We how many fucking times have we seen the Diaz brawls? All the way from Strikeforce up until like 2 months ago. You know what I'm saying? These niggas ain't fighting fair ones. You're walking into that gym and you're getting fucking jumped. Oh, you really thought you were gonna come in here and like whoop me in front of my friends? No, we're all whooping your ass and kicking you out like fucking the dude off Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Thrown out the fucking door. Boom. You ain't getting no fair one, homie. You better hope the UFC pays me, right? But he said, I got a lot going on, trying to manage a few different businesses. Once things make sense for everybody and that they actually have some fighters that they respect and I respect, we can try to come to a deal and do a show. That's how I feel. Well, everybody respects Jorge Masvidal, the UFC, the fans, you. We all respect Masvidal, so he checks off those boxes. Masvidal said, everyone waiting on me to respond. I'm just waiting on a fight. I need to get paid. Neil Magny, where you at? Wait, Masvidal is so crazy, dog. This nigga's wild. He wants smoke with Neil Magny so bad. Some of you don't know how fucking long this goes back. My boy Masvidal, he ain't a bully, but Neil Magny must have fucking followed his girl on Instagram, right? Like Masvidal's chick or something. Neil Magny probably slid in her DMs because this is personal. It's personal between Masvidal and Magny. And Magny, he's never the one that's like, yo, I can't wait to fuck Jorge up. Jorge's always like, out of nowhere, like, you know, none of these motherfuckers will take a fight with me. But I would love to fuck up Neil Magny. It's like always like out of nowhere. Like, we're talking about Nick Diaz and shit. Like, oh, Nick Diaz won't fight Masvidal. He's like, yo, listen, I don't know who wants to fight me, but I'll fight Neil Magny. Like, he just wants to scrap Neil Magny. He's like, everyone's waiting on me to respond, and I'm just waiting on Neil Magny. Neil Magny's gonna have to take this fight. He's gonna have to take this fade. You usually don't see people this persistent with call-outs with the same guy's name in their mouth. I don't know what Neil Magny did to this guy, but he wants all the smoke, and you don't want somebody like Jorge Masvidal. Like, he ain't no fucking pussy boy. Like, he ain't no athlete that got into fighting. Yeah, you're tough, but you're really an athlete. This is a fighter. This is a motherfucker that if it wasn't no UFC, no professional sport, he'd still be scrapping, whooping ass. Probably be worse. Masvidal's my motherfucking dog. He's not the one that you want on your neck. And for some reason, he's on Magny's neck. So good luck, Magny, but I need to see this one. Magny, bring that ass here, boy. I don't know what you did. I don't know what the fuck you did. But Masvidal needs that fade. He needs it. It almost feels like Usman versus Covington. You know how Kamaru Usman told, he's like, yo, I would rather fight Covington than fight for the belt. He said, I gotta bless that dude with these hands. That's how Masvidal feels. I think literally, if you said, would you rather fight Tyron Woodley or Neil Magny? He would say Neil Magny. 100%. Jorge Masvidal used to fight for $100 bare knuckles, says Jay Skills. Oh, yeah, he probably didn't get paid for a couple of them. But, yeah, maybe they did give him $100. But, bro, we're about to go back to this fight. There's no way this shit's copyrighted. And a lot of you probably already seen this. Ray versus Jorge. They fought twice. Look at this. This was 11 years ago. This was Masvidal, bro. This was the back in the day. Look. This was back in the day, Kimbo Street fights. This was when I was in high school. We used to watch the fuck out of these on YouTube at school. This was Ray. This was one of Kimbo's best prospects. This dude, Ray, was the dude that used to run the yard. Ray beat everybody up. Like, Ray was Kimbo's favorite fighter. Like, yeah, ain't nobody fucking with Ray. Like, that was Kimbo's favorite. Like, yeah, that's my dog. Like, you know, Kimbo, he was the best. But Ray was his homie. Like, yo, I got Ray against. Like, he would put the money up for Ray. So, Ray was the favorite in, like, all of these. Here comes little Jorge Masvidal with the motherfucking hair. He's shorter, weighs less pounds. Look, that's Jorge. Y'all got Masvidal. Hey, nigga, what? This is before the motherfucking niggas wasn't thinking about the UFC. Nigga, this is backyard. That's a young Masvidal coming to the backyard fresh off the motherfucking street. Probably shooting dice and shooting guns before he walked into that motherfucking yard. Breaking bitches. What are you talking about? This is a young game bred. This is game bred right here. Nigga from the street. This ain't no athlete. He wasn't in no fucking classes right now. He didn't have no fucking good family and manager at this point. He had his homies. Backyard brawling right here. Look who he's about to be fighting. Oh shit. He came straight in. What's up with the raps? That's big ass Ray. Yo, what's up with the raps? Nigga, what's up with the raps? I know how to throw these things. You should have wrapped up, bitch, nigga.
Let's go, baby.
He's like, fuck it.
Don't worry about that, man.
Make a commitment.
Make a commitment.
Relax, Ray. Relax, Ray. Relax, Relax, Ray. You got up, man. Relax.
Look at that jaw right there. Look at that jaw right there.
They got kicks and all that shit in here. This ain't just boxing either. Takedowns, all that shit. Everything goes. This is backyard MMA, dog. This wasn't no just boxing.
He's gonna come to you. He's gonna come to you.
No respect. Come on, let's go. Let's do it.
Relax, Ray. Relax. Relax. You got up. You got up.
Come on, baby.
Relax. You got up. You got up. Relax. Relax. Relax.
Make a commitment. There's a corner.
There you go. Walk him. Walk him. Walk him. Walk him.
Looking to cut off the yard. Trying to cut it off. You don't know who he's dealing with, though. You don't know who he's fucking with. Look at Masvidal with the outside leg kicks and the front kick to the body right there. Look at the size difference, bro. Like, he's a big-ass dude. That's not a 15-pound size difference, bro. You can't tell me that's only 15 pounds. This ain't 185 to 200. This is like 175 to 210.
Angle, come on. Move around. There you go, my man. There you go. Get in there. Walk him in there. Get in there, Ray. You got up, Ray. Get up, Ray. There you go. Get up.
Ray trying to get it.
Strike and block. Let's go.
Bro, you ain't seen this right here for a treat.
Strike and block. Strike and block. Let's go. Strike and block.
Relax.
Strike and block.
There you go. Relax. There you go.
Young Masvidal.
That's it, George.
relax.
That's
Get
it,
in
bro.
there.
Fine.
Get in there.
Get in there, get in there. Get in there.
Get in there.
That outside leg kick.
Get in there.
That's a
Yeah,
scrap.
yeah.
Don't stop.
Nigga, if you're already throwing kicks in fights when you're like 17, yeah, you're whooping ass.
There you go, relax. There you go.
Keep your hands up.
Keep your hands up and throw. When he comes in, you counter. There you go. Keep your hands up.
Get in there.
Oh, quick hands. Quick hands. Look at Masvidal. Look at him, tear him up. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Tie him up. Look at him. He ain't done.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Yeah, there ain't no ground and pound allowed, but they'll let you back up. There are kicks. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. What are you talking about? Knees, Muay Thai clinch.
Oh, shit. Breathe for the nose, right? Breathe for the nose. Breathe for the nose. Breathe for the nose. Back up, Ray. Back up, Ray.
Guys look tired. You guys look tired. Come on, fellas. Wake it up, fellas. You guys look
Look
tired.
at Masvidal sticking him, dude.
Oh,
Oh, it's almost over. Masvidal's fucking him up. It's almost over.
Use those hands, buddy.
Breathe for the nose, man. Breathe for the nose and block. Block your face. Your hands up.
He's tearing him up.
Don't get in my ring. Don't get in my ring. Don't get in my ring.
Don't get in my ring. You get Kimbo? Oh, big right from Ray. That was a good shot. Ray landed a couple.
Get back, people. Get back. Everybody get back.
That's cheap. See, okay, we've seen enough. You get the fucking point. Like Jay Skill said, this is why I really want to see 305 versus 209. Because it's a real fighter versus a fucking real fighter. Ain't no dude in here coming, like, both of these niggas got it out of the mud. Both of these, like, that would be like a motherfucking, a fight, like, Masvidal versus Diaz. That, I don't know, I just feel like that's more of a real fight than you can really even get these days. Now, of course, there's a lot of other real fighters, but I'm talking about both of them, you know, just being, I don't know, I just like some more street fighters. And clearly they're way better than that now, but I would just love that matchup. But yeah, this is the shit I'm talking about. Now, if you went on to watch the fight, like, yeah, Masvidal finishes him. It's over here. And they wave it off. It's over. Jorge wins the first fight. He gets back up. It's over, though. Masvidal wins the first one, and then you can go back. There's a rematch. They fight twice. They fight again. So you can watch both of those fights, bro. Jorge Masvidal back in the day, like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. So, I mean, go back and watch those and it'll make you probably a lot bigger fan of even Jorge Masvidal. So, yeah, I would love to see him fight Nick Diaz, but it is what it is. We shall see. Now, we got a few more things to talk about. Real shit right there, says Leon Dubson. Yes, like, bro. That was actually, it's wild to think about it. This nigga's one of the best fighters in the UFC now. Dude used to be fighting in backyards like this. That's why he's got the hashtag backyard to bright lights. He's doing a documentary, Backyard to Bright Lights, because he was literally in the backyards. Now he's walking into fucking Madison Square Garden, and that is wild to think about. That is so crazy. Like, he fought like Wonder Boy in like Madison Square Garden after this. That's crazy, man. My motherfucking dog Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean O'Malley, aiming for a summer return, recovering, of course, from his surgery and stupid ass USADA. And he was talking about it on Twitter. He was like, man, you know, whenever you get busted for a tainted supplement and it's bullshit and you really feel like it's bullshit, you could only imagine how it would feel like if a USADA agent showed up and they were laughing about how many failed drug tests there were. Like, imagine if you lost your job because they said you failed your drug test and you know you don't take drugs. And imagine the next time you go to take a drug test to try and get your job back, they start laughing like, man, this has been a crazy year for failed drug tests, even though we know they're clean. You're like, so you motherfuckers know there's a lot of innocent people out here losing their jobs and you're going to laugh about it? This is my livelihood. I'm sitting here without a job and you think this shit's funny? Because what happened was, you know, he's still in USADA. He's still getting USADA test even though that stupid failed supplement. But one of the USADA agents come to test him, and they were laughing like, man, this has been a crazy year for tainted supplements. And it's like, this shit ain't funny to me. I can't fight right now. My fucking image is getting tarnished because maybe it's not you technically, but something's fucked up. I'm not a cheater, and you guys are saying I'm a cheater. Yeah, it might not be your fault, but this shit ain't funny. My livelihood is affected, and you think this shit is funny. It's not. So yeah, I seen that on his Twitter, like, this chick's really laughing about this right now. But yeah, he said, every day is closer to getting back to the cage, coming off back-to-back surgeries. My number one priority is getting my body back to 100%. Looking like June, July will be the return of the best show in the world, the Sugar Show. Yo, I got a weird feeling, man. All of the trash talkers have been getting humbled lately, and hey, that's still my dog. I'm gonna rock with them till the wheels fall off, and probably even after, but I just have a feeling that humbling moment might be coming for my motherfucking dog, but it is what it is. It comes for everybody, and even then, it's about how you handle it. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully he can be 100% coming into these fights. Still looking for that marquee finish in the UFC. So, yeah, man. Coming back, currently, of course, dealing with the USADA situation and multiple surgeries, so it'll be a while, but gearing up for that return. Moving on. Bada Jr. says, didn't O'Malley pop for PEDs? Yeah, he popped for PEDs. It was, I mean, they said it was trace amounts like they do with, it's like super trace amounts, fucking tainted supplement, whatever. But yeah, he definitely popped. So they say it's the caffeine pills. Like, and I don't think he was cleared for these specific caffeine pills, but whenever he got popped, he was working with Jeff Nowitzki, and Jeff Nowitzki said, like, those caffeine pills, the specific ones he was taking, that has been what made other people pop before. Like, those specific caffeine pills. But I don't think he actually got it cleared, which is un-motherfucking fortunate. But yeah, we got a couple more things to talk about. UFC gets AT&T Jackson Wink MMA Instagram accounts disabled for copyright violation. It is not safe out in these streets. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if our channel gets shut down, honestly. Literally, you know why? Just for the beginning clips. Like the thumbs up from Valentina Shevchenko. Like, they're getting motherfuckers for stuff like that, I think, at this point. Like, even GIFs. And you used to be safe on, like, Twitter and social media. You're just sharing a little clip with your friends. Oh, shit, look at this finish. But now they can literally flag your account and get you kicked off of Instagram and social media like it's copyright. It's like, dude, I'm not making no fucking money off of this. You don't get adverts. Some people do make money off of Instagram. So maybe them people, that's something. But if you're not making money off of it, I don't see the problem. If I'm just retweeting a finish to my friends, don't shut my Twitter down. If I'm just retweeting some shit on Instagram, don't shut my Instagram down. But it's happening. People's accounts are getting disabled, including prominent American top team and Jackson Wink. Their Instagram accounts got disabled, so they're coming for everybody's neck. Just please help. Our Instagram account has been disabled for the past week for posting UFC content. We received one warning, and we were never given an email with an official explanation or claim ticks. We've always posted about our fighters and promoted the UFC events. Any help is appreciated. Jackson Wink, same thing. Hey, us too. Let's work together and make Instagram great again. And Black House MMA all had their Instagrams deleted by UFC copyright infringement. That is some bull. Like, could you imagine it being one of your fighters, like one of your brothers, just won their fight? You're just trying to show everybody, look, he won. Look at the fucking kick. Look at the combination this guy landed before we won. Our team won. Like a Jackson Wink fighter, Holly Holm gets a big win. You share Holly Holm's knockout on your Instagram because it's your fucking sister fighter, like your friend that you train with every day. Your shit gets deleted. UFC ain't fucking around, man, with that copyright violation. So Dutch Black Class says they're trying to monetize anything. Can't even get or send gifts. Yeah, it's fucked up, man. It's fucked up. It's fucked up out here in these streets. Can't send gifts, can't post highlights. Just like, okay, damn. All right. It's wild, though. Good thing I don't use social media that much. Like, for Instagram or Twitter. Maybe once I get my phone activated, I'll be on there more. But I don't use it that much, or my shit might be flagged by now. But moving on. Dominick Cruz on injury bad luck. Just part of my journey, and it's going to be a part of my legacy. Looks like he's accepted this, and I believe this is the last thing we have to talk about. They had these injuries, some of them even convenient, but just a part of his legacy, and that is definitely the case. And you got to wonder, could you imagine if Dominick Cruz was able to like go through his career, how long of a reign he could have went on at bantamweight without the injuries? He could have been like the Demetrius Johnson of bantamweight. He could have broke UFC records. He could have a lot of great things, but part of his legacy is these injuries, and it is what it is. It's what he had to say. I've done everything very carefully to make sure that I'm ready for this one. I start sparring, and at the very end of my second round, I threw a right hand, and just as I throw an overhand left, I felt a click in my right shoulder, and then I felt my fingers go numb. Right away, I knew something separated, because you're not supposed to get blood flow and numbness in your fingers unless it's a detrimental injury. So I stopped right away, got out. I literally left that practice knowing that I told my shoulder, and went straight into an MRI, knowing that I torn my shoulder, I guess they meant to say. My subscapularis is completely torn off, and my supraspinatus is 75% torn off. So from what I understand, they have to take the tendon, reattach it with the screw, some sort into the bone, and get everything reconnected. It's basically an ACL tear of the shoulder. So yeah, man, I mean, this is just not good news for Dominick Cruz. I mean, he says understanding it really serves no purpose because there's no understanding. It's just what it is. To try and understand it will take you into a loop that will never end. So I choose to look at it this way, the way it is, and just do what I can. He said that's the question. He said, with all that being said, how I feel is sadness. So yeah, man, regardless of the injury, like I said, it's not really about the injury. It's about the legacy of Dominick Cruz. It's about the injuries, plural. It's about multiple injuries. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he was the champion, the only reason Hindenbrow, TJ Dillashaw, that whole era, Dominick, he was stripped because of his injury. He came back, got his belt back, and since then, yeah, he lost to Cody Garbrandt, but he's just had injury after injury. I mean, he broke his arm leading up to the Jimmy Rivera fight. Now he was supposed to be fighting who? Like Marlon Moraes, I believe. And this fight's canceled. So, for sure, unfortunate for Dominick Cruz. And honestly, I don't know if he'll be able to fight for the title again. If he does, it might be a one-off shot. But at this point, I think they're looking at like Moraes versus Sunsao for an interim title. Those guys won't fight. Winner of that fight's Dillashaw, and so like maybe we see Dominick Cruz come back and fight for a title again. But really, I mean, as far as the journey is concerned, unless he's like the Bionic Man, he's just had so many injuries and so many fucking leg, shoulder, arm. It's like, I feel like Dominick Cruz he's not a guy that is desperate for money, that needs to fight, because he's a really smart dude, and he's got opportunities outside of the UFC as far as his commentary gig, the Fox/ESPN gig. Like, he can still make money doing what he loves, breaking down fights, commentating on fights, being a training partner at Alliance and all of that. So, we'll see what Dominick Cruz goes, but, I mean, another injury is not looking good for his journey. Will he get another title shot? Who knows? This could be, honestly, we've seen it before. Guys get injured, and that's the end of their story. Some guys go out, and it's with an injury. It's not because somebody embarrassed them and they went out on their face. Like a lot of the times in MMA, you don't get to go out on top. You don't go out the kingpin and retire. A lot of the times, the game catches up to you. You lose a couple fights before you actually retire. Get beat up a couple times. Or it could just be injuries. You go off into the sunset because you were injured. And, you don't ever try and make that comeback, which honestly, at this point, I think that would probably be the best thing for Dominick Cruz. Yeah, you can try and come back, in about a year after yet another injury. But honestly, you've got a legacy in the sport, and you've still got your place in the sport. So we'll see where he goes from here. But, of course, hopefully we'll get at least one more fight from the Dominator, because, he is such a legendary bantamweight and a legendary fighter. So, Bader Jr. says Woodley Usman is destined to be a snooze fest. That's a real potential. Definitely. Jay Skill says, full-time, how about the UFC proposing Usman versus T. Wood before Colby versus T. Wood? Usman posted a contract offered the fight versus T. Wood. Yeah, I think what's going on there is the UFC really needed a main event for UFC 233. They're scrambling. if they can't get Colby to fight Woodley at 233, well, shit, can we get Usman to fight? Well, now it's Woodley. Like, I think that's what that was. They're literally just trying to get either Colby versus Woodley or Usman versus Woodley on that card, trying to save UFC 233. But once they realize they're not going to get any of them to be able to agree to fight except Usman, I'm sure Usman's the one guy that would fight on the card. But now you can't get Woodley or Covington to agree. So it's like, yeah, Usman's going to fight on the card, but who's he going to fight against? He could have fought against Askren, but that's not a title fight. So it's like, you know, unless you do Askren versus Usman for an interim title fight, that's really was like their only option there. So yeah, man. That's it for the show today, guys. I gotta leave for work in like 15 minutes. Honestly, I don't got a lot of time at all. The show went a little too long. But hey, it is what it is, man. It's been dope. Thank you guys for coming through to the show today. That's all I got. We'll be back this Thursday and potentially Friday. So with that being said, man, it is what it is. That's all we got. Let's play one more song. Eminem, Lucky You, Jones vs. Gustafson. That's how we'll get out of here for the day. We're going to play this and we're going to get out your hair. So thank you guys for coming through. Salute to J Skills, Bada Jr., Bubba G, and everybody else for coming through. Rakim Joseph. I know my boy Gary Kincher Jr. listening at work. Leon Dubson. Thank you, everybody, for coming through to the live show. It is what it is, man. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I done did a lot of drugs in my day, yeah, I said it, but I'm still gonna kick your ass, Gustafson. I hope you ready. When I got into the crash, I ain't know the bitch was pregnant, but they treat me like a murderer, so motherfucker critic. Bitch, I'm ready to fight, and we can fight till the death. I'll hit your ass with the right, then with the right and the left, then kick you right in the chest, and have you fighting for breath, and then I'll turn the pressure up when you would try to get rest, leave you no time to adjust. Daniel, I'm coming for the title, so quit hiding your necks, because I'm right at your neck. Yeah, you can try and fight Lesnar, but when you fight him, what's next? That's right, I'm the best. At UFC 232, I'll get my title instead.